Hello again. Slight change of tack because as we were in the last video, we were finishing off the end of chapter 1. We come across this expression, the Son of Man, which Jesus uses an awful lot, and it's a very significant figure in John's Gospel. In fact, in the whole of the other Gospels as well, and it's something that's from the Old Testament. And so we're just going to talk about the subject of the Son of Man rather than going through certain verses. Now, this is a verse in question that we were looking at yesterday, and it's the Son of Man, which in Greek is a rather long expression. It's ton huion to anthropo in this particular verse, right? The Son of Man. You may recognize the word anthropology from anthropo. Okay, it means man. And the thing is about this expression is that it seems to be very, very significant. What's interesting is that Jesus is the only one who seems to use it of himself. There's one possible exception, which is at the end of John 3, or halfway through John 3, I should say, because of course Jesus is speaking to Nicodemus, and there's a debate. Does Jesus finish speaking at the end of verse 12, or does he continue to speak here? Now, a lot of people think that chapter 3, verse 13 and 14 are narrative from John. But if so, that would be the only time where somebody else used the expression Son of Man outside the mouth of Jesus. Okay, it's always Jesus saying Son of Man. So I'm inclined to think actually that verses 13, 14 and 15 are actually the words of Jesus. All right? But, of course, that might actually be an exception. It might actually be John using the expression Son of Man. If it is, it's a very unusual verse. Okay, so as we're in chapter 1, just looking at this expression, it seems to be very, very significant, but it's just thrown in there at that point. Now, the question is, how would a first century Jew have received it? Now, in the Old Testament, Son of Man was an expression that was used of Ezekiel. Ezekiel is called Son of Man again and again, right? And the Hebrew for that is actually Ben Adam. Okay, that's not particularly remarkable. Ezekiel is called Ben Adam, son of Adam. All right, but what is significant is the expression in Daniel 7, right? Because we have that vision of one coming like the Son of Man to the Ancient of Days. And the expression here is Bar Enosh, or Bar Nasha. All right. So Bar Nasha is slightly different because of the context in which it's used. It's used about this vision of somebody going to God on clouds, okay, approaching the Ancient of Days. What's very striking is that lots of times this is quoted in the New Testament. It's quoted in the Synoptics, for example, in the Olivet Discourse, and at the trial of Jesus, Jesus says, "You will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds," right? And it's very popular to take that as being about the second advent. Oh, that's Jesus coming. Actually, when you look at this passage, just looking at it for what it says, if I can put it crudely, what direction is the Son of Man travelling in? Is he coming to earth, or is he going to the Ancient of Days? If the Ancient of Days is God the Father, he's going to God. And so actually many of those passages which are taken, oh, that's second advent, actually they're talking about Jesus going to God, because he's going on the clouds. It's actually talking about the ascension. Of course, he went on the clouds. Okay, and it's completely the opposite of the second advent. It's actually him going away from us, because it's not coming to us, he's coming to the Ancient of Days. All right, so there's lots of strange little quirks about this verse and the way that it's interpreted by a lot of people. Okay, so just statistically, I've got a few numbers here for you. Son of Man is used in Matthew 32 times, in Mark 14 times, Luke 26 times. John only uses it 10 times, so half as much as the others, but his loading seems to be a lot more profound. Okay, for example, in John 9, of course, you've got the blind man who's healed. Do you believe in the Son of Man? He answered, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? he says, "You have seen him. It is he who is speaking to you." And he says, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. Okay, so his response to the idea that Jesus was the Son of Man was to worship him. Okay, that's very profound for Jewish people, to bow down to somebody, right? And Jesus accepts that. He welcomes that. You know, so it's another indication that he knew that he was God. Okay, so they understand it to mean the Messiah as well in John 12. Okay, in John 12, they're talking about Jesus being lifted up, or he says the Son of Man will be lifted up, and they said, "We've heard that the Christ will remain forever. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up?" So clearly they understood Son of Man meant the same thing as Christ. All right, and they don't understand about the crucifixion. They don't understand about the sacrifice or anything else like that, because they're thinking of the Son of Man sort of coming in glory. But of course, actually, he gets crucified, and that is what is his process of glory. That's a major step on the process to glory. All right. So it becomes a very sort of significant term, quite clearly, for Jews by the first century. All right. I'm trying to think what else I can say about it. I'm just scanning my notes. I think I've covered it all. Oh yes, here's the other thing, right? Because we have been programmed, I think, in modern Christianity certainly, to think of the Son of Man passages as being second Advent passages, we sometimes read that back into other passages, namely ones in John. But John makes it very clear that the Son of Man is one who lives amongst us and can be encountered in the here and now. It's not so much of a focus in John on the second advent. There's not much of a focus on the future. It's all about Jesus coming and dwelling in us now. Okay, God comes and dwells in us now. All right, so there's a very different emphasis which we'll see. We'll pick up on that as we go through. Okay, and we'll actually look at what that really means to have the Son of Man coming to us. All right, and of course, I think that covers all of it. Yes, I think so. All right then. So I don't think there's anything else I can really add to that. I think that covers most of the base points. If you want to look up the scriptures, if you look up in the notes, you'll find all of the verses. Okay, so just download it from the website, or get the posh copy from Amazon. You get a nice little picture of me from many years ago. So, you know, do research that. That's a worthwhile subject to dig into. So I just introduced it to you there, just the barest bones of an outline, but do dig into it and see what you can find, and those scriptures will help you from the notes. Bless you. Catch you in the next video.